Hello and welcome to Buffer State Sports. This is Rick Hidalgo, and today is the 9th day of February in the year of our Lord 2022. And welcome to the program. As you can see on your screen, we are talking USFL today. Tired of talking NFL, not going there, not talking about the Super Bowl. We're talking about USFL. As you can see, there's a countdown on 65 days, 5 hours, 16 minutes, and 25 seconds. And not a whole lot of news on the website itself. It is advertising that inaugural game between the New Jersey Generals and Birmingham Stallions. But here, there is nothing new. And none of the teams have any clickable features telling me that there is nothing league official at this point when it comes to websites, team information, any of that kind of stuff. So we're still waiting for that. So so here's the deal. I'm not listening to any talk out there unless it's been confirmed, unless it's totally true. I've got some things we're going to go over today, some news. Some of it's a few days old. Some of it happened just today. But some of it's like ridiculous news, and some of it's actually legitimate that I want to go over. So let's go to the first piece. So it came out today, Kirby Wilson doing an interview with Tribe Live. He says that Jaron Horton is going to be the new defensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Maulers. So, and that Kirby Wilson's going to call the offense. Now, I don't know if you guys even know who Jaron Horton is, but he's not related to Horton Hears a Who, although by the end of the season he may be, because the only tie I can find between Kirby Wilson and Jaron Horton is that they served the Pittsburgh Steelers for a time. I believe they were there at the same time, so this is probably where the tie-in really comes in. But if we look at Jaron Horton comes from the University of Connecticut. He is a defensive coordinator. He served until halfway through the season. Well, not really halfway. After the first 2 games of the season, they fired Usfl, and they promoted Usfo to the head coaching position on September the 6th, 2021. And this guy served as defensive coordinator under Usfo, but under Usfl, he was actually the star nickel dime coach. So he was a defensive coach, but he was a kind of a sub to the defensive coordinator. He was an assistant to the defensive coordinator. So there's a lot of question as to exactly what they're expecting here. Guys, there's not a lot of good statistics that came out of the University of Connecticut. They did play better towards the end of the year, but I want to show you University of Connecticut Huskies statistics in 2021. Their strength of schedule was 91st of 130. Okay? That means there were 39 teams that had worse strength of schedules than they did, and they still ended up 1-11. And their only victory was against a FCS school. I believe it was Yale. They got blown out in every game. It was just a really bad season. Their record was 127th of 130 teams. Very, very not so good of a season. Their points per game were 129th of 130 teams. They could not score. And they couldn't stop anybody. So I'm not sure what's going on with this hire, other than he apparently has a connection with Jaron Horton. Kirby does. So, well, we'll just have to see what happens there, and who knows? Okay, who knows? So I'm kind of keeping my eyes open on what's going on in the United States Football League, because I have extreme interest in this league getting up to a level of being able to play solid football, so that in my mind it can at least not compete for revenue, but compete for players. Okay. There's plenty of players, plenty of solid, very good players that never get a shot in the National Football League for various reasons, some being political. Just saying, some being political. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. So here's a really cheesy article. I don't know who Tony Paul is at the Detroit News. I'm going to guess that this guy, is an experienced writer. I don't know. I did not look into him at all. But this is probably one of the cheesiest articles I've ever seen. I mean, look at the headline. USFL has no immediate plans to play in Michigan, but Panthers, nostalgia, a key to league survival. Really? Nostalgia from what, 1985? Nostalgia? That's what's going to keep the league alive. That's what's going to keep it surviving, is the remembrance of years gone by. No. The USFL doesn't care that it had a 1.0. The USFL is moving forward because it knows that spring football is legit and it can work. It just has to have a good model. Okay, so let's throw out the whole nostalgia, key to league survival thing. And let's also kind of give it a little rib shot, this Tony Paul. Yeah, the USFL has no immediate plans to play in Michigan. Guess what? None of the 8 teams, except for Birmingham, will be playing home games. Okay? So, what does that tell you? That tells you that no team has immediate plans to play in any state but Alabama, in the city of Birmingham, at 2 stadiums that have been designated for every football game of a season in the spring. Okay, so let's get over ourselves here. No team has immediate plans to play at home. So that's neither here nor there. I'm reading the article, and last thing I'm going to do is subscribe to a newspaper to go read an entire article. But from what I can see, yeah. Onward. Okay, so let's move forward here. The next thing, okay. Here's and I got to tell you, this one I want to react to as I read it. So I did not go into it, but potential plans for season 2. USFL team merchandise and draft pool details. Okay, this comes from February the 7th. This was just a couple days ago. So what I want to do is I want to read these quotes, right? Okay, so Wood said the goal would be for the teams to relocate to their actual markets for a second season in 2023, but that's not set in stone. The hub could remain, but if it doesn't, Wood said there have been preliminary discussions about specific venues in Metro Detroit. He wouldn't specify. Well, okay. So here's what I want to say about this. Obviously, the league wants to expand to its full apparatus quicker than not. I mean, that's how you're going to get local fans to really, truly engage in the product. Okay? The local fans are not going to truly engage in the product by just having your local news cover it on the 6 o'clock news. That's not the game plan. The game plan is to get the league on its feet in Birmingham, which I think is fantastic because they're going to support all the football they can get in Birmingham. Trust me, it's going to happen. It's going to be fine. And the TV deals are going to make it really, really cool. So, yeah, they have plans for 2023 to be the year that some games are played in home venues. But it's not set in stone. I mean, because how can you set it in stone? We don't even have, like, legit owners for the teams yet. Okay? I mean, there's rumors, but I'm not getting into rumors. Just saying there's not legit owners for the teams yet. So, there's not legit conditions for stadiums or anything else. Anyway, I'm digressing. So let's go on. Here's the next thing, right? So, what's the next quote? Oh, yeah, let me go back up. I'm sorry. I also discuss a topic that a lot of people have been asking about, team merchandise. If you were hoping for more good news, it looks like it should be released over the next few weeks. At the moment, the USFL shop has a few shirts for each team, but many fans have been hoping for hats and new designs. Well, just need to wait a little bit longer to see what they have planned. And it's true. We have been waiting for new hats, new designs, new jerseys, all kinds of things, because I'm really pumped up about revealing the team I'm going to be rooting for, because I'm getting close to choosing that team. So moving to the upcoming USFL draft or player selection meeting, Brian Woods dove into some more detail. At the moment, the USFL has a database with more than 3,000 players. Okay, do the math. Okay, you're essentially in the 40-player area times 8 teams. So that's like 320, all right, players. And you got 3,000 players in the draft. There's going to be some disappointed dudes. So ultimately, the number eligible for the final draft pool will be cut down to between 450 and 500 players. So with the player selection meeting set for the 22nd and 23rd, we're expecting to see more news on that front shortly as well. And I would expect that. I would expect to be seeing news on that very, very soon. Very soon. All in all, the USFL has done an amazing job spreading the word of their new brand of football to kick off this year, or the year. And it looks like they're moving full steam ahead with no plans to stop anytime soon. Recently, we've seen Fox debut the first 2 30-second promo spots for the USFL during the network's broadcast of the NFC Championship and the NASCAR Clash at the Coliseum. Does people actually watch NASCAR? I don't watch it. Moving to this weekend, all eyes are on NBC for the Super Bowl. Are they? Okay. I will be watching the Super Bowl, but I won't be watching the commercials. Got a feeling they're going to be woke. So, and the USFL fans hope of seeing their first promo on the network. So, considering that the debut USFL match between the Stallions and the Generals is set to be simulcast on Fox and NBC, we think it's likely. Yeah, it's likely that we're going to see some kind of, mention of the fact that, hey, next time you see football, it's going to be Birmingham and New Jersey on the field in Birmingham for a New Jersey home game. It's going to feel weird to people, but it's good. What merchandise would you like to see the USFL release next? I'm in a cold area, so beanies are good. Just give me some really cool shirts. Like this dolphin one with the logo on the left chest. Just give me something like that, like polos. I'm a polo guy. So you hear me, USFL? Small channel, Buffer State Sports. I know you listen to Cubans in South Dakota. I know you do. No, you don't. Let us know down in the comments below, he says. Okay, cool. We'll let you know as much as we can. All right, so let's go on. All right, here is another one. USFL EVP Ed Hartman talks XFL. Why Fox was interested in spring football and USFL merch and more. Okay. Here I want to read some quotes. So he says, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. There has been for many months. We've made a number of exciting announcements over the last few months. You can rest assured that many more will come in the coming weeks and months to kick off. But look, it's a lot of work starting a new football league. But we're confident that we're building and very excited about the kickoff on April the 16th. I'm glad you are, because I am too. I'm extremely, extremely excited. I think firstly, it's a misconception that the XFL was a failure last time around. I also believe that. I do not think that the XFL was a failure. The XFL got kicked by COVID, but there's a lot of things that got kicked by COVID, including like our natural rights. Anyway, the ratings of the XFL in the 3 weeks that was around for before COVID was outright exceptional. It was outrating the NBA for those 3 weeks. I mean, that's not hard to outrate the NBA. I mean, people are like sick of the NBA. Based on that and based on other research we've done, we're very confident that there is a strong demand for additional football in the spring. Yeah, there's strong demand for additional football anytime. Give us winter football. Give us summer football. Give us football year round. Dude, this is America. In America, we love football. Okay? So I think the lesson that we've learned from previous leagues is that you need to keep your cost in check. And to that end, we are utilizing a hub model for the first 1 to 3 years. You hear that? 1 to 3 years in Birmingham, Alabama. That will enable us to keep cost in check and that side of things under control. Guys, that's so huge, because then you got these owners that could come in from other cities that are going to undergird it with money. And that undergirding, the infusion of money that they give just adds to what the USFL is able to do on their own. Okay? And, I mean, there's sufficient money. Don't worry about that. We think we have the best broadcast partners of any startup league in history. In Fox, NBC, we have the best broadcast exposure. Free web broadcast exposure of any league period in the spring, with over half the games being on free web broadcast television and the other half being on fully distributed. And we have what we think is the best promotion of the lead via both Fox and NBC. So keeping the cost in check, using the hub model, having the broad support of Fox behind us, and the media exposure that we have, we think it's a recipe for success. I think you are right. It's a recipe for success. But you know what else is a recipe for success? Keep the woke crap out of it. Okay? No Rooney rules. No, multiple national anthems, that kind of stay out of it. Okay? Keep it football. And treat your players like they are gold. And guess what? Everything's going to be just fine, USFL. You're going to actually one day probably overcome that other league. Extra football will definitely work on television in the springtime. There's a massive amount of talent out there in the country that wants to play professional football. They are good enough to play professional football, but might not necessarily make the NFL for many reasons. Yeah, let's get into some of those many reasons one of these days, dude, okay? Let's get into those many reasons. Lots of them are political. So those two things combined lead us to believe that this is a product that's really going to resonate, and it's going to. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to resonate because normal people are going to play football in the USFL. Of course, I say that, and in a minute we're going to look at some draft pool news. It's another kind of key part of our thesis to building this out. If you look at the initial teams that we've picked out of all the U.S., it's no fluke. I like that word fluke. Reminds me of flutie. No fluke. Flutie. Right? Okay. Anyway. digressing. It's no fluke that over half of those teams are illegal, or they have names that are based in illegal betting states. Okay. You've seen so far as betting is rolled out in the United States that something like 60 or 70% of all user acquisition happens during football season. Go figure. That's because they can break legs. They can break legs in the fall. They can break legs in the winter. Of course, it happens in the football season. So we think by extending the football window, you'll get significant interest from bettors. Inside, here I am going into my conspiratorial mode now, like insider trading, insider gambling. Okay. Instead of say that we've had a lot of inbound from all the leading betting companies wanting to be involved in different ways with the league, either by making marketing or being aligned in some other way. So as I said, it's very clear that Americans love betting on football. Yeah, they like betting on football. You know what else they like betting on? UFC, boxing, horse racing. These are things that Americans bet on. You know why they like to bet? Because there's something about winning that's really allergic. Not allergic. Wrong word. Whoop, rewind, go back, strike that out. That's really appealing. And so providing the next 10 or 12 weeks of football to bet on, we think, again, is a winning strategy. And he's right. It's a winning strategy. Me personally, when I think of football, the first thing that comes to my mind is not betting. In fact, it's not fantasy football. Those are not the things that come to my mind. Things that come to my mind is sitting on a couch with a bowl of popcorn or some chips or maybe a pasta salad, and enjoying my afternoon watching a ball game where I am just totally immersed in the strategy of the game, thinking about the two teams and thinking about how this might happen or that might happen, and this bad call and this terrible call, and oh my gosh, you went forward on 4th and 3. That's what makes football for me. I care less about gambling. I care less about fantasy football, those kind of things, okay? We think we've got a big tailwind given that the USFL has so much equity value in it. On top of that, obviously, Fox has owned an off-road television station and affiliates in many of these markets. True. So using those local television stations to help activate local fans is going to be one weapon we use on top of the USFL IP. So, it is something we are super focused on. We think the combination of these two things and other tactics, I like that. It's like when the mafia comes to you and says, yeah, we're going to sell you our stuff and more. Okay. So we think the combination of these two things are other tactics will make it possible to build our local following despite the fact that teams are playing in one market, at least for the first year. He says, we'll be making some big announcements around merch in the coming weeks. You can see, we're going to make some big announcements around merch in the coming weeks and expect to see some really fantastic items going on sale again. Buy it from Vito. Right? Okay. So there you go. I could play that, but I don't want to get any copyright infringements because, social media does that kind of thing. But I got one more thing to share with you. We're going to go into the USFL draft pool itself. How about that? How about this website? sportsgamblingpodcast.com. So interesting, right? I'm not a gambling guy. I already explained that to you. But how about a player tracker for the draft? Really? Is that so cool? Man, I think that's amazing. All right, so let's come over here. We're looking at quarterbacks, right? These are the quarterbacks that they already know about, right? Ben Holmes, what is that? Tarleton State? Don't even know where that is. But DeAndre Johnson, no, he's one of those Knowles. And I remember DeAndre Johnson. Yeah, anyway. These are the only 2 quarterbacks they know of at the moment. I think there's a few more. They need to update their website. But we'll just go with what they have here. Look at the running backs. You see some NFL experience up here. Even fan-controlled football. You see the Spring League. Yeah, Liga de Fútbol Americano. Right? So you got Battlehawk, Hamilton Tiger Cats, Cincinnati Bengals, Chicago Bears. You got NFL experience that's coming into this draft. You got to think that those people have a good chance, good opportunity. Running down the wide receiver list, you see some guys who come from some pretty prolific schools. Cavante Turpin from the Texas Christian University. He's a big time player. There's some of these guys that come from these smaller schools that are kind of the best among the best in the smaller schools. In here too, guy here, Matt Sewell from Bryant University, got some experience with the Jets and Texans, the Apollos of the AAF. That's Orlando Apollos. So, got a couple tight ends. There's some updating to do to this, but look at all this NFL experience that's coming out in the USFL draft pool. Some pretty good NFL experience if you look down this list, and these linebackers. Dude, there's some linebackers coming out that have got some serious football under their belt. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this draft goes down. I'm understanding that it's going to be a snake draft. They're going to draft quarterbacks in the first round, and then the next position players in the second round, so on and so forth, until you've got all your position players figured out, and they'll have they'll have a random draft towards the end where you can fill your roster. So it's a very interesting concept. I've done snake drafts myself in arcade football, and those can be pretty cool. All right, so there's your look at the rosters, or not the rosters, the pools that will eventually fill the rosters of the 8 teams in the USFL. But alas, that is really all I have for you guys today. I'm very excited about the USFL. I am going to make my pick really soon as far as what team I'm going to have allegiance towards. I may talk about them more than any other team. Who knows? I don't know how it's all going to go, this podcast thing. While podcasting's not new to me, I've got other channels. This particular type of podcasting, football, is new to me. I love football. I've loved it for a long time. But anyway, I could talk all night long. From Captain Rick to your house, I just want to say thank you for watching. God bless you, and I will see you next time on Buffer State Sports.